Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you and hear you, Donna. That's
Oh,
perfect.
good. Okay, done.
All right. Okay, welcome everybody to this masterclass on the North Node's transit through Aquarius and Leo. In astrology, the nodes are like two mathematical points in the sky that relate. They're called the lunar nodes because they relate very much to the moon and they sort of move between the orbit of the moon and the sun. So they're not actual planets or anything like that, like a lot of the other things we focus on are, but they're very important points in the sky. With the nodes, we have the North Node, and then directly opposite the North Node is the South Node. And so they're always opposite each other. So they always use that polarity between two signs of the zodiac. And when we have two opposing signs of the zodiac, even though they're opposites to each other, they always share something in common. So when they form this opposition with one another, sparks fly. And the sparks are those oppositions, and this out of those sparks become the similarities and the things we have to learn from them opposing one another. So we've had the North Node, it takes about 18 months to move through a sign of the zodiac. And so we've had the North Node in Pisces for the last 18 months, and the South Node, therefore, was in Virgo for the last 18 months as well. So with the polarity there, what were the lessons and the things we were working through there was that so the opposing signs of the zodiac always share something in common. So what Virgo and Pisces share in common is the need to serve. And so Virgo people love to serve because they love to organize things. They like to be in control. They like to kind of be the wind beneath other people's winds and wings and get all those ducks in a row. And Pisces people like to serve, or Pisces energy likes to serve just to keep the peace because it's a very easygoing, pleasant energy that just wants everybody to get along and everything to be easy. But what we've sort of had to learn to understand during this transit is that the more you consider yourself to be serving others, the more you kind of put yourself below other people in some way. And so we had to really change that serving energy into more of a sharing energy to know that, you share information and you help people and you do things like that. And it doesn't mean that you're serving them or that you're a servant of any type. When we look at things as sharing, we feel more powerful and we feel less like we owe somebody something, or that it's our role to be slightly beneath another person and doing all the job at the bottom. So now that the nodes, one of the things that's going to be is particularly interesting about these nodes shifting is that the North Node is the final placement, planet, whatever you want to call it, that's still sitting in water energy. And so this is what we've had a lot for the last sort of 20, 30, 40 years is a lot of planets sitting in water energy. And so while planets or anything is in water, it creates an illusion where we can't quite see the woods for the trees, where things can be, a bit foggy, a bit misty. The water, of course, can be very clear and very transparent, but often it can also be very murky, and it's easy for things to get hidden in the water energy. And so now that we're moving all the planets, so we had all of these planets sitting in water for quite some time, which is why that so many things have happened and gone down on the Earth plane particularly over the last 20, 30 years, that are really coming up now to see the light of day, because we're starting to look back on them and see them now with all the fire and air energy with a lot more clarity. And we're seeing that these things that were sort of sold to us, I mean, one of the most common, sorry, I've just got to let some more people in. One of the most common things with the illusion energy that we've been under for all this time, it has been, social media is the absolute replica of complete illusion, where people sort of, with the power of social media, that you've got to dress in a certain way, you've got to look a certain way, you've got to do things in a certain way. And that was all an illusion. It really was. And, especially for young people looking around and seeing, what people are doing on social media and that, and then judging themselves as being not good enough or not pretty enough or whatever it might be. It's been a real damaging illusion for all of us. And another great illusion that we were all sold was that the fact that we actually, and this is actually something that's been sold to us for much longer than the last 20, 30 years, but the belief that somebody in a position of power has a better idea than you of what's good for you. And the way we've given away our power and all of that again was that illusion. We were taught to believe or conditioned to believe that people with more money, with more knowledge, with more status have got a better idea of what's good for you than what you do. So now that these nodes are moving into Aquarius, into the Aquarius Leo polarity, all of that is set to change, because one of the most important things when we look at Aquarian energy is that it's all about working together. It's all about the collective. So when we have the North Node and the South Node, so they're directly opposite each other, the South Node represents the past, what you've already mastered, what you've already experienced, what you've already become very, very good at. And it gives you, so there's a lot of knowledge there, there's a lot of insight there, there's a lot of experience there. And so when you bring the South Node energy into this lifetime, often what will happen is that the soul wants to recreate what it already knows, because your soul remembers every single lifetime it's ever had. And so it knows what it's mastered in other lifetimes, and it knows how it's done it and all the ins and outs of it, but it's got no idea of chronological order. So as soon as your soul comes across something familiar in this lifetime, it wants to act and react like it has before, where it's had the experience before. And that experience could have been back in the 13th century, or it could have been forward in the 30th century. We don't know. And so, but wherever that experience has been, it's irrelevant to this lifetime. Yes, the knowledge and the knowing and the experience can be useful, but we can't start replaying and acting again the way we used to, because that's done. It's learnt. We're moving forward with new information and new ways of using that energy. So what we look at with the South Node is going to be in Leo, and the North Node is going to be in Aquarius. So with the South Node in Leo, we've already mastered being organized, being creative, being able to be leaders. And we've already learned how to do all of those things. We've actually, in other lifetimes, we've actually also mastered fame and what it's like to be in the public eye, and what it's like to be a leader, what it's like to be all those things, because those are very Leo related energies. So we've mastered all of those. And so as we step into the Aquarian energy, we can take that mastership with us to give us the confidence to be different, because Aquarian energy is all about dancing to your own drum beat and being outside the box. And so we're really stepping into this energy, and we're already in the age of Aquarius. And so this is a really powerful time, because what this means is that it's going to become a lot more acceptable, and it already is becoming, I'm already seeing it everywhere, becoming a lot more acceptable and almost normal for you to have ideas that are innovative, to do things a different way to everybody else, to see things from a different perspective as other people do. And rather, in the past, those things have been put down. You know, if you wanted to do it differently, if you wanted to dress differently, if you wanted to act differently, there was something wrong with you. You were weird. You were quirky. You needed to go and play with somebody else. You weren't accepted for being different. But now, you know, I must say that some of the younger generations are really pushing the boundaries on this, of the acceptance of anything that you want to be is okay. Because the beautiful thing with Aquarian energy is it completely understands individuality, and that we're all different, and we've all got something very unique and different to bring to the table. But it also understands that if we can bring all of that together to create one, we have a beautiful community where everybody can contribute in some way. Whereas, you know, the world we're living in now, it doesn't promote community. It doesn't promote looking after one another. It doesn't promote, you know, your neighbors. I mean, how many people actually know their neighbors anymore? Unless you've lived in somewhere a very long time, and in this day and age, you don't really tend to have a lot to do with your neighbors, unless you're living in a community that is a little more evolved. But, you know, from where I'm living, you know, here in New Zealand, it's not normal really anymore for you to have a lot to do with your neighbors. Yet I can remember growing up and everybody knew each other, and all the kids played together in the street. And, you know, that wasn't that long ago, but it was quite a while ago. But, you know, things have become, you know, quite different since then. And this is something that we've strayed away from the importance of looking after one another. So as the North Node moves into Aquarius, we have this beautiful collective energy where we're going to be much more focused on what is for the greatest good of all concerned. We're going to be a lot more willing to be innovative, to be outspoken, and to be rebellious even about what we feel is right and what is wrong. And this is so, so necessary at this time, because, you know, for too long we've been all corralled into a box and told what to do, and it's got to look like this and it's got to be done that way. And when we look at the world, it is very, very broken. And this is one of the very reasons is we haven't allowed innovation to come through, or if we have, it's been very sort of technological rather than that sort of the basic innovation of taking something very sort of normal or standard and actually taking it to the next level, or finding a different way of doing it that can actually align with a lot more people. It's not so one size fits all anymore. We're all allowed to be our own size and to have different fittings. So what we've mastered with that Leo energy, so what we're really moving from is the energy of me into the energy of we. because the challenge with the Leo energy that we're coming from is that it's very egotistical, or can be very egotistical. Very, Leo people are very driven by their own needs and by their own need for glory and fame and notoriety and appreciation. At the very least, Leo people really need to be appreciated for what they bring to the table. And really, everybody should be appreciated for what they bring to the table. But with that Leo energy, it strives for personal recognition and personal glory. And so, but we've already mastered that in other lifetimes. As the collective, we've all been very, very concerned in that, other lifetimes and this lifetime, we've all had those periods of time of being very concerned with our own glory, with how we're going to go, how much money I'm going to make, how much money and how much status I'm going to have, what my title's going to be, what I'm going to look like in the public eye has been very, very important. And it still is important to some degree. But what we have to learn now is how to do things and do them for the highest good of all concerned. It's not about your own glory. It's not about what you can achieve. But at the same time, we've all got to stand up and be individuals as well. So it's like it's going to be tricky until we get the hang of it, because it's something we've got to learn to do. It's not something that we have been conditioned to do for a very long time. We've become very competitive. We've become very pitted against one another and divided in so many ways. And this is our opportunity to really, really come back together to create something that's much more sustainable, because only when we work together can things be sustainable. For so long as we've got our own individual, mission and things that we have to do, we're all divided and we're all going in different directions. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't be an individual. It doesn't mean that you can't, be your own person, have your own business, do your own thing, be all of that. But what you're being encouraged to do is to make sure that everything that you're doing is something that can benefit everybody. It's not just about you. And so, because we are in the age of Aquarius, this is going to become more and more easy way of being, even though it seems a bit, not something we might be used to. As human beings in our DNA and in our ancestral lineage, this is what we used to be. We all lived in communities and villages. We all looked after each other in the past. And so we've all had many, many experiences in other lifetimes of living like this. And this is what's going to be activated in this lifetime, is those memories of what does it feel like to be a part of something? What does it feel like to work alongside other people? So this is going to be really important. So what I'd like to do now is sort of go through all of you and ask you each, what do you consider that you're good at, that you would like to do more of and bring into, what would you like to share that you already know you're good at, that you can see how people could benefit from this? So Sandra, you're at the top of my screen. So what can you see that you're good at, that you feel, that other people could benefit from if you were to share it more or you were to put it out there more?
Okay, so excuse my voice because I've woke up this morning and I've lost it,
Oh,
or
no,
some of
sorry.
it.
Dear.
It's all good. So I'm an energy intuitive and channel. So I actually already hold groups and bring people together to
Beautiful.
actually develop herself, but understand the processes of the interaction of how we develop. When we develop ourselves and improve ourselves, we also invite the same from others. And so it's the moving through the energy of what we experience for ourselves, we actually radiate out into the world,
Yeah.
and so that then flows back to us. So I'm in alignment with that. But it's interesting, I'm going through a transition of moving further out into the public eye.
Mhm.
So yeah, this is I'm finding this really, really interesting. So very much appreciate that. So I hope
Good.
that
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, it's you're a couple of steps ahead of some people by already working to create that community, and but
yes.
also to be aware, we can create community, but actually we're already in one, and that's something else to be aware of. If the world was to suddenly stop tomorrow, or that all the power went out or whatever, it's not those people in that group that you've established that maybe you can connect with the easiest. It's the actual people that are right next door to you, and this is where reaching out to other people around you is also a good way to create more community and more feeling like you're a part of something a bit more.
Absolutely. And if I can just say, I know my neighbours.
Oh, good. Well done. How long have you lived where you live?
We've been here probably about 12 or 13 years,
Good.
but the neighbours have changed. But we
Oh,
know the neighbours, yeah.
yeah. Oh, good. Oh, that's nice. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, Svetlana, what have you got that you would like to share that, or you could create some more good in the world with?
Sorry, I've had a bit cold for the last 2 weeks as well.
Oh, no.
So I suppose for me, what I feel that I'm good at is that I do a lot of training, and so I integrate with a lot of different people. So just being available and just recognizing their needs and where they're coming from and making them easy with the stuff that sometimes it's something that's frightening for them when they come to training. So
Yeah.
just being there for them and just being that sort of counseling and listening ear.
Yeah, good, good. So, so you're taking what you do for a living and trying to create community with that. And I think, what you said there about, you're there to train people and make them better, I guess, at what they do or what their skills are. But to be able to also bring into that a sense of well-being and a sense of belonging is really important. I mean, we can all get trained to do something, but when you feel like you're a part of something because of that training or as another line of that training, that's really powerful.
It's because I also, with my job, I train people, older people on technology as well. So that's
Right.
that's a scary thing for them. So just making them at ease.
Yeah, good, great, wonderful. And Kate, what have you got that you'd like to share?
Oh, I guess I've always been told that I make people feel welcome or included. So that's something that I enjoy doing, whether it's working or friends or going to a new town. I really appreciate that sense of community. And I've just moved to a new place in New Zealand,
Right.
to
So do
Raglan,
you find
actually.
so do you find it easy to reach out to people and create that community, or do you feel the need to you kind of wait to be asked?
No, absolutely not. No, I grew up with a grandmother who knew everybody and on the street and was one of those people that would pop over to the neighbors when they arrived, with a basket of scones or something like that.
No.
And that was always taught to me. So I think as well with my upbringing, I moved to a new town when I was 6, and it was something that really stood out to me, and kind of shaped how I felt. I still remember going to the school on the first day, and there was a thing called mouse-a-size, which is kind of like children's aerobics that you had to do. And I remember standing at the back of the hallway and the teacher holding my hand and not knowing anyone, and just that overwhelming fear of not
Yeah.
knowing what to do or where to go or who to sit with. And I've always taken that wherever I've gone. I've traveled a lot and I've been quite itinerant. So wherever I am, I always try and reflect that back to people, whether they're starting the job or moving into a flat or something, that everyone
Oh, beautiful. Good
feels
on you.
welcome.
Yeah. So you would have no problem creating a community or knowing, what to do to bring people together, obviously.
Yeah, no, I feel quite comfortable with that. Yeah.
Good, good. So are you going to do you feel that it's a good thing to be more proactive there? Can you see more of a need for it where you live?
Well, I've just moved to Raglan, and the community spirit here is amazing, and it
Yeah.
makes me feel like it was New Zealand in the 90s.
Yeah.
So there's lots of lovely things that happen. There's like learn to sew classes. There's
Good.
all of these different things that invite people in. There's an open mic night with Shed Kai, which is Koha donation, and just things like that, which it feels like it's stepping back in time, but it's also what it should be. And it's been
Exactly.
really nice to be involved with that
Yeah.
feeling.
And it's such a, it is such a natural thing. As human beings, we are pack animals. We're not meant to be on our own. We're not meant to sort of, have to only look after ourselves. We're meant to sort of come together with all those different ages and experiences of different people. So yeah, good on you for getting out there and doing it. Good. And Donna, what would you have like to share more with the community or bring to the community?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me, of course, is the creative writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that never goes away. But as
What
time
could you
goes
see yourself doing with that? Well, in a community.
in the community, well, so recently I've started working back in the beauty industry and prestige big time.
Yeah.
A big flagship store, one
Yeah.
of the farmers' big flagship stores. And I'm finding myself now, because with the creative writing, I know that when I'm in that moment and I'm writing, it's just, like it channels through and it's just pure depth and, in the moment, and truth, that just sort of just flows through my hand from my heart, I guess. Yeah, not from my head.
Yeah.
As I find as time goes on now, and I can't get the pen to the paper, or I'm speaking it. I'm starting to. I mean, certainly with you've got to choose your moment and use what's the word for it?
Discernment.
Yeah, that's it. Yep, yeah. That as well. Because not everything resonates with everybody, but I'm not one to sort of express. I'm not an expressive sort of person verbally, generally, even though I've worked in sales all my life. Yeah. But the connections are different now.
Yeah.
I feel the connections with people, and I'm really, really loving it in a different way, not just for selling and getting a buzz of, making big sales. And that's good. That has to happen. Otherwise I won't stay in the job. But the connections are different now. And just being with people, the people I work with, making connections, I love the connections. I really love the connections with people, not just sort of sitting on my own and doing the writing. But so I suppose I find myself speaking my truth more easily. I just want to keep doing that. Yeah. Just,
and so the more you do it, the more you'll encourage people around you to do it, because they'll feel safe to do it because you're doing it. So
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so it's quirky and a little bit poetic as well, Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, good on you. And Maggie, what do you have to share, or would you like to develop more to share with others?
Well, first of all, I want to say hi to Kate, because I know Kate. Hi. And as well say hello to all of you. Well, my sort of background is working with young children. And at the moment, I'm studying to work with new mums with postpartum. So I've been thinking about doing that for a really long time. So I've just started doing the learning now. So I'm sort of going through this phase of really, there's a lot of self-doubt happening at the moment. Like, am I going to be good enough to do it, even though I know that I've got the skills and all the rest of it. And it's something that I'm really looking forward to. I'm just a little bit scared of, taking that next step to make myself really visible in that area. But I don't have I don't have trouble sort of building relationships with people and children and families and all that kind of thing. It's just that this is new to me. So
yeah. And so do you have some different ideas about how you would like to do it, or what you'd like to bring to the table there?
It changes every day. One day I think I know this thing, and then I think that I don't. And I think it's just because I'm just still on the journey a little bit.
Yeah.
I've never, I'll have to, set up my own business and things like that. So that's something that I've never ever thought that I would be doing. So that's quite nerve-wracking. And so that kind of thing. But, like talking about, relationships with people, I'm really fortunate. I live in Wellington, and I live in a suburb that's inner city. And we've got a really strong community here. Great. So I know a lot of people on my street. I know a lot of people in our area, which is so good. Like, it's so good. It's so I find it really heartwarming to be able to walk down the street and be able to say hi to pretty much everyone that I see, because
that's great.
We just kind of all know each other. And I know that we call on each other quite a lot, especially on the street that I live in, which I love. I think with what my next step is, I just want to make sure that I'm being as open as I possibly can.
Yeah.
In the person that I am, like not pretending to be someone that I'm not.
Yeah. The authenticity is really important this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's where we can see that you can be authentic, being the most quirky part of yourself as you want, because it's still a part of you. It's still a very real part of you, and it needs to come out. And this is where, don't, for everybody, don't be afraid. If you've got a different idea or a different way of doing something or a different perspective on things, this is the time to share it, because, those things where you were told, oh no, it can only ever be done this way, and, you've got to fit inside the box, that energy's going. And so the more outside the box you can be, and the more you can celebrate that and have confidence in being different, the more success you're going to have, and the more people you're going to attract to you that also want to keep going in that same way. So with the early childhood work or the younger children work you're going to do, don't be afraid to do it differently. Don't feel like you have got to stick to the way that it was taught to you or the way it's done in the books. That's not the way forward.
Yeah, I think I just need to sort of tune into my intuition instead of listening to what the outside noise is.
Yeah. So we've got Mercury in Cancer in retrograde at the moment until another 2 days, and then he goes direct, thank goodness. And so, it is a good time to go within and really look at that inner narrative that you have with yourself.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, thanks, Maggie. And Linda, what would you like to share more with the world?
Well, I have been doing it, but in a small way, just through my own development. And I've worked for years on my intuition and allowing it to be, and I'm finding that it's changing, in the fact that what kind of was a woo-woo before is now more acceptable.
Yeah.
And so it's time to zero in on being out there and using that to assist others to open up and
Good.
move forward with it.
Right. So you feel more comfortable with that energy now than you used to?
Oh, yes, yes. I am, and with Margaret and Maitreya saying, put a worth on yourself.
Yeah.
That makes more sense now. And then as I get older, I find that your community, your group changes. And with me, because I've moved around a lot, I have a lot of groups in a lot of places. And
same with me. Yeah.
Right. And so the feeling of belonging must be within yourself first. So it goes right along with this developing your individuality and your intuition as a part of something else, and what you have as a gift, sharing with others to open theirs.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And North Node is in my 9th house, so there's a lot there.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Great. Thank you.
Welcome.
And Sky, what would you like to share more? What with the world, or create more in the world?
Oh, thanks, Deidre. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Waikato Cape. I'm in Hamilton, so hopefully Raglan's really nice for you today because it's not here. I've been sitting a lot with what we talked about when we had that your last masterclass, and so coming to this one was sort of an add-on for me. And I guess where I'm sort of sitting now is in this place of, I know I've got the skill sets to do quite a bit. Where my sort of passion and I feel like at the moment purpose lies is I'm really good at strategy, listening to what somebody wants, and then basically being able to create the means in which to get there and deliver on the dream. And then where I'm sitting within my chart is stuff that we covered last time, which is, I know I have the skills, but there is a part of me that feels uncomfortable in being in the limelight. With all the retrograde stuff, which brought huge insight, to me, and I've been sitting with that for the last couple of weeks and going through the why and would it be so bad if I stepped into the limelight and what that means. How do I do that? And I guess the feedback that I'm getting from my outer environment is that I'm now getting more people appearing that want my help. So it's two things. It's choosing where my heart and where I feel drawn to, where I feel will have the most impact community-wise. And then as well, being comfortable to step up and into that place and say, yep, I'm your person. I can do all these things. And in terms of feedback, one of the boards I sit on last night, I was so frustrated because a lot of my other board members don't have the skills or the capability to do some of the things that needs to be done for the trust. And then I know I can, but then I just don't say anything or don't know how to create the space in which for myself to sort of put my hand up and say, okay, that's enough of that. We're going to do it like this. Yeah. So with all this new energy, I'm like, oh, okay, this is really pushing my buttons, but also sort of inviting me into the space and asking me, how are you going to do it?
Yeah. Because I think, because of that Leo South Node energy that's coming in, you will have mastered the collective energy, because we look at this from a personal perspective as well as a collective perspective. So the collective has learned individuality and to put themselves first and to stand on their own 2 feet. So that's, something that we then take that, how did I do that? How do I feel confident being myself, doing my own thing? And then how do I encourage other people to also feel confident to be able to to do the things that need to be done. But I also feel with you is that, you need to delegate in a way where you make sure that whoever you're delegating to, that you train well first, so that everything's not in your basket, so that you can hand more stuff over.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think they're going to keep knocking on your door, because you are meant to take a lead here and speak up. And, that you've been feeling that for a long time, and it's just, feel the fear and do it anyway, because it will take you somewhere good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sky. Hilda, what would you like to share a bit more with people, or what have you got to create and share?
I think I've been working on this for quite a while, or it has been simmering. I think a lot of my work is bridging. I've worked in the medical field, and now I'm doing like a lot of psychotherapy work, and I'm also in the arts, and I do lots of other stuff. So like jack of all trades, but I see myself as I want to bridge these healing arts fields, and I have the skill set of it, but one of the big challenge that I feel like for this year for me is to take leadership, and not just being a leader in a team or whatnot, but more like stepping into that role, and commit myself and own it. And I think that's a big challenge for me this year. I'm still kind of like moving forward, and like I know I can do it. Like there are moments that I'm there, but it's not kind of like a consistent momentum. I guess that's for lack of a better word. Yeah.
So Jupiter and Leo will help you very much this year, and will help most people this year, because Jupiter, of course, is all about growth and expansion, and Leo is the energy of the leader. And so it's what we're going to find over this next year is, along with this this Aquarian energy, which is making us feel that it's okay to be different, it's okay to look at things differently and have different solutions. On top of that, you're going to have the confidence to speak up about things, which we haven't had for a long time. I mean, it's been 12 years since Jupiter was last in Leo, and 18 or more years since the North Node was last in Aquarius. So, when these two are coming together again, and they weren't together last time they were in those signs of the zodiac, but now that they are, they're really feeding one another. So to give you that confidence, but without the egotistical, or without it has to be done my way, or this is the only way forward. It's like, and that's one of the beautiful things with Leo as the leadership energy, is its leadership style is, I'll show you a really good time if you follow me. And everybody wants to have a good time. And so rather than the Aries, it's my way or the highway, or the Sagittarian, I know everything, so you have to do as you're told, it's a much easier way to be led. And it's a way that, people, it creates optimism and confidence in people. So I really feel that that bridging idea or concept of yours is exactly what we need. We need to sort of understand once again how to look after ourselves as well as how to look after each other. And so people like you who have got medical knowledge and mental health knowledge and all those different sort of health knowledges can really help bridge the gap for people to help themselves, rather than always having to think, well, that person over there has to do it because they're the professional, or they have to do it because they know more than I do. We all know our own bodies really well. And so the more we can sort of tune into what our bodies need with a little bit of bridging help from someone like you, is going to really help communities to feel more self-sufficient, and people within the community to feel more self-reliant. So that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great to step into that leadership.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Patsy. You've got your mic off and your camera off. If pop them on if you're able to speak. I imagine you might be at work, so you might be able to talk just yet. Yeah. So what would you like to share a bit more with the world, Patsy, that you have?
Yeah, I just reached office, so yes.
Okay.
Well, and I've been hearing, right, and I think it's true. The courage to speak up and all is also starting to show on me, on work side, the corporate side. I had the courage, like finally, to talk to my managing director and say, how can I support you better? Even though that, in HR, right, we are always like, you are not part of sales, you don't need to know, you are not as important as finance because the numbers and sales have to work together.
Right.
Yeah, so HR still is a very supportive role, like it or not, how much we want to transform. But yes, I took the courage to talk to the MD and still trying to see how I can contribute better to the office.
Yeah.
And then on my personal growth side, I am still working on be a better Pilates instructor, be in the sports rehab part, even though, I'm not a registered physiotherapy or physical therapy, but still trying to be in that realm to help people to manage pain conditions on the part that as much as I can. Yeah.
Good.
So yeah.
Yeah, so so within the community you're creating, particularly with your Pilates work, it's about helping people to help themselves. So, having your students go away with an idea of exercises they can do outside of the class to help a part of their body that might be in pain or something like that. But as well as also, I feel that one of your roles, I always feel that people who work with people in this or that physical world, a lot of your role there also is to encourage self-confidence. And some people, the stronger they get and the more agile they get, the more confident they feel in themselves, and therefore the more they're willing to take on. So I think, that's part of your kind of role behind the scenes, is to build up confidence in people so they can go out and achieve more and do and take on things that have scared them before they're unsure of.
Indeed.
Good. Great. Thanks, Patsy.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Shelley, what have you got you'd like to share and bring to the world a little bit more?
Hi, Deirdre. Hi, everyone. Yeah, well, as you know, the sound healing is yes. a thing for me. And when you asked the question, I was thinking, well, yeah, okay, so the sound healing, and it made me reflect and think, well, what else is there? And I think for me, it's about, I've got a really strong inner core. And, I stand strong in myself. And I don't mean physically, I mean, psychologically and emotionally, and totally believe in independence and in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think I can probably help people with, is to find their inner steel rod.
Yeah.
And because I know for me, I don't get thrown by very much, and this is, please universe, this is not hubris, is that if I've got that strong core and can find it, then other people can do that as well.
Absolutely. And that's something to be really aware of for everybody, is that whatever you have worked really hard on in this lifetime and mastered is exactly what you're here to share with other people. And it could be just that you've mastered driving a car, or it could be something very simple, or it could be something quite complex. But whatever you've worked really hard at and had the experience, done the learning, discovered some tools that can help you and come through the other side, makes you an expert in that area, even without, you don't need to be have a piece of paper or anything to be an expert in an area. And therefore, you will find that people who need that sort of learning will gravitate towards you. So a lot of these things that you want to share, you might find that people naturally start knocking on your door and asking you for these things because of the energy that you're giving off at this time, which is always a great sign that you're on the right track and things are working well for you. So it's good indication to see, with the Aquarian energy, it's all about working one and for all. It's about community. It's about humanitarianism. It's about innovation. It's about serving the collective. So we're moving out of this energy of only serving ourselves and only looking at what we can do to be famous and what we can do to be popular and clever and all the rest of it, to how we can still be those things, but doing it for the highest good of all concerned, so that everybody is benefiting from your success, not just you. And again, we've all been conditioned for a very long time to think the opposite, to make it very much, it's you against me and lots of division and I've got to be better than you and all of that sort of thing. And it really, it doesn't even begin to make sense. And I think we're really coming into a time, and I think we can already see this now, where we can already look back at, the life that you've lived so far and how things used to be, say, 40 years ago, or if you're not that old, maybe 30 years ago, and how things have changed. And what we used to accept as the norm back then, we now look at and think, well, that's not okay. Especially, I think one of the things that's very obvious to me when you watch an old TV show or something and the old-fashioned sexism that everybody used to laugh at and make a joke about, and they crack these jokes and you just look at it and go, well, that's actually not funny. But once upon a time you did think it was funny because everybody else did. And so we're moving out of this energy of doing what everybody else thinks to knowing that if you don't find something funny, then it's not funny. If you do, then it is. And each to their own. But that doesn't mean that we can't all get along. So one of the other things to be very aware of is about our authenticity. So 2026 was always the year of sovereignty and authenticity, where we had to really be sure that we were aligned. So whatever you're producing outside of yourself has to be aligned with who you are on the inside. So for instance, you might be really successful. I've just been writing a blog about this actually, so I'll use the example I use there, where you might be a really successful maths teacher and really good at what you do, and you do it well, everybody learns well from you, and you're good at your job, but you've always wanted to be an artist, and you probably love to teach art, but there's a part, so inside of you, your real passion, your real love is for the art, but what you're putting out of you is maths. And so there's the alignment's gone there. And although it doesn't mean you're not good at it, it doesn't mean you can't do it. But when we come from the heart and what we really want to do and what we really know that we're good at, we're going to have so much more success because that's with fulfillment as well. So that's something really important to know, that, we all looking for fulfillment in life. We all want to feel better about things. And so, we need to be aware of what we can do there as much as we can. Now, the other thing I'd like to talk a little bit about is that the last time we had the North Node was in Aquarius was between December 2007 and August 2009. So all of 2008 and half of 2009, basically. So when we look at what was going on collectively during that time, that was the time of the Great Recession. That was the financial crash, particularly in 2008, massive financial crash. So when planets move back, or the signs move back into the same place they've been before, we can expect very similar things to happen. So we're being presented with similar things to see what we're going to do with it this time. So what happened back then in 2008 with the financial crash is, the financial crash, lots of people lost a lot of money. The stock market went down. It was a very nasty time for a lot of people, really, really struggled. But what we made the massive mistake of doing back then was rebuilding all of that again on the same house of cards that it started off on. We didn't learn anything from that experience. Well, some people would have. I'm sure a lot of people got stung then and have been a lot more careful with their money since, and a lot more sort of, careful with it in some way. But in general, when we look at what the banks and everything offer now, I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, but I know in New Zealand there's a couple of banks now that will offer you a mortgage on only a 5% deposit. Now, that's just asking for trouble. I'm sorry. In a world that's so volatile and so up and down at the moment, getting somebody to commit to something like that is totally unfair for what the future is probably bringing. And so we've got to look at if we're going to have another, so that we could be heading towards another financial crash at the moment over these next sort of 18 months. And in many ways, it's kind of what the world needs. Not necessarily that we all need to be in that sort of financial trouble or stress again, but it all needs to be reset because these old systems aren't working. And so back then in 2008, with that Aquarian energy, the North Node in Aquarius, it was a perfect opportunity to create a new financial system, to create something that was fairer, that was more sort of horizontal feeding, something that, you know, allowed people to, everybody to make money, everybody to be able to, you know, make more interest and not pay as much tax or whatever it was. There was a perfect opportunity there to rebuild, and we didn't do it. So now we're back again. So this is a wonderful opportunity. So everything that's happening with the planets and everything is affecting the collective or the global energy, but it also affects us all individually as well. So when it comes to looking at this great reset, we've also got Chiron's just moved into Taurus. So the big lesson of Chiron and Taurus is going to be about redefining your sense of security. So this is something really important, I think, for us all to understand, is especially when it comes down to community and looking after one another, is that we're going to have to find ways, perhaps, of looking after one another that don't involve money. And we're going to have to look at ways to feel secure that don't involve money, or that involve money as a part of it, but not as the be all and end all. And really, you know, the way the world is now, it's all about money. How much money you've got in the bank allows you to buy whatever you want, or buy food, or have a roof over your head, whatever. And, you know, since when should it be? And when did it ever get decided that having a roof over your head and food in your stomach was a privilege? You know, that is your God-given right to have a roof over your head and food in your stomach. And so we've moved so far away from these universal laws of how the world should be and how we should treat one another. And so this beautiful new energy of Aquarius that's coming in is a great reminder of us all to look at how we can make ourselves feel secure and how we can look after one another in a much more holistic and sustainable way. Because for so long as we're relying on things outside of ourselves to make us feel safe and secure and make us feel like we can sustain what we're doing, it's not sustainable because it's outside of you. You don't have full control over it. The only thing you really do have full control over in this lifetime is yourself, how you're going to think and what you're going to do. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for everybody to look at how you can create for yourself a different type of reality where you feel safe and secure, but also where you're not afraid to do things differently to the way that you've always done them. And another big thing that came out during that time as well was when Barack Obama was first made president of the United States. So the first time in history, a black person was put in charge of the United States of America. So that in itself was massive. And again, Aquarian energy outside the box. You know, 10 years before that, no one would have thought of that, or if they thought of it, it would have been something that maybe could happen, and people would have to think a whole lot differently for someone like that to be given that type of power. But, you know, look what happened. He came into power, and I think he had two I don't know what they call it, sessions, or what do they call it, of being president. But so, you know, that was a big change back then. Again, that Aquarian energy allowing us to do things differently, to look at things differently, and to get really good results out of it as well. So, I mean, that crash wasn't a good result, of course, but it was, you know, it was humanity's opportunity to reset the global financial system, and we didn't. We missed the boat completely. And then everything's, you know, since then, things have been very, very erratic. You know, the stock market goes up and down and all over the place. You know, we've now got precious metals being the number one thing that people want to invest in. And again, at least they're more solid than a house of cards that mortgages and things are built on. But there is going to be an upset, because that's what has to happen so that we can rebuild. And so if we're going to have to rebuild and start a whole new world out there in some way, and I don't know what that's going to look like, the first thing we're going to need is community. The first thing we need are other people to support us, to hold our hand, to help us trade, to whatever it might be. And we've got to look less at money as being that thing that makes the security and makes it all happen, and look much more at what we can do for one another and how we can be there for one another. So as we step into this Aquarian energy, it is going to be a lot easier, like I said, for us to feel like we want to be a part of something. I think this energy will help us all to feel much more connected, or wanting to be connected. We're going to look for people that we can be closer to, or that we can support, or that can support us in some way. So wherever you live and whatever you're doing, if there's people around you that you can start to trade with in some way, Like, and it could be vegetables for vegetables, it could be fruit for vegetables, it could be services. Somebody might need a babysitter, somebody else needs something else. This is what we're all learning at the moment, is how we can help one another and work together. And some people in the communities think that they might have retired and they've got no skills left. They say they worked as an accountant and now they've retired and they don't particularly want to do accounting anymore. But the one thing a lot of people can do who are retired that might feel that they've got nothing to offer or nothing to do is they can get in touch with other people who no one else talks to. I mean, there's a lot of lonely people up there who would love a conversation on the telephone once a week, or even a visit once a week to talk to. And that is giving back 100% to your community. And the same with someone who might need someone to look after their children so they can go to work. And again, there's a trade that can go on there. So I think it's a good thing for us all to start thinking outside the box as to what we can bring to the table that's a little bit alternative, but is going to be useful and productive in some way for us each as individuals, but also for the collective in every way as well. So what we're going to have to be very careful of, though, because of that, the South Node in Leo, the South Node, the tail of the dragon, because it's something we've mastered before and because your soul's very aware of it, it's going to want to pull you back there. And of course, the shadow of that Leo energy is the need to be all about you. And which again is the exact opposite of acting as a community. And so there will be this sort of push me, pull me energy, I think, for a little while as people go back and forth with this. But I think what's going to happen eventually is that we're going to settle into our communities. We're going to settle into that feeling of wanting to be with one another and wanting to support the people who are closest to you. So if anybody out there is feeling, who's listening to this, is feeling isolated in any way, it's something that you need to initiate to actually connect with people. But also, somebody said to me the other day that when they first moved, it was a friend of mine that had moved to Wellington many years ago. And when she moved there, her grandmother said, I've got a piece of advice for you. And she said her advice was never refuse an invitation. Always say yes when you've moved to a new place. And I thought that was a really good advice basically for what we're going through now is, whatever people around you might suggest to you, say yes. I mean, not if you really don't want to and it's something weird, but if it is something that you just haven't done before, or you've never always thought about, or just something different, say yes. See what that new thing is that can come into your life and what you can do with it. Because always remembering that everybody who's in your life you chose to put there at any given time. And so if somebody does come to you with a new idea or an innovation, they're doing so because they've got that's something new for you to share and something for you to work with. And one more thing before I go is also looking at a reminder to everybody that, and this should come up a lot for you with this new Aquarian energy particularly, any ideas, thoughts, fantasies, imaginations, whatever you've ever had about that could be quite outside the box, could be things that you've always thought about but never thought, oh, I don't know how I could ever make that happen, or even though I keep thinking about this, I don't know what to do with it. Just be aware that the thoughts and imaginations and fantasies that keep coming back to you, that haven't gone away, like all your life they've been there, or they've been there consistently for quite some time, or they just keep coming back, that is spirit reminding you that this is part of your plan. So don't ignore those things. I mean, we have 100 million ideas a day, and of course you can't do all of them, but we all have certain ideas and thoughts and memories even that come back that keep reminding you. And that's very much, if you're getting that spirit knocking on the door saying, hey, this is part of the plan you made, and now is the time for you to start getting on with it and embracing whatever that might be. Now, however quirky or weird or outside the box it might be, because this is the time to be different and not be afraid to be unapologetically the weirdo that you came in here to be. Because, if we were all the same and if everybody did everything the same, what a boring world we would live in, and nothing would ever change. So as much as everybody, the powers that be would like us all to fit into a box and stay there, that's not who we are and that's not what we're going to do. So Aquarian energy is also a very rebellious energy. And remember, we've also got Pluto in Aquarius at this time as well. And the last time Pluto was transiting through Aquarius, we had the French Revolution, the American Civil War, and something else. The independence thing was also fought out during that time period as well. So we are coming into a time of rebellion and taking our power back. And that doesn't mean we've all got to jump up and down and burn down buildings or do silly things like that. But it's about standing in your own sovereignty and knowing what is best for you and not backing down from that. And having the courage to say, actually, no, that doesn't work for me. This does. So this is the path I'm going to follow. And what we're also really starting to see now, especially for those of you who are more sort of sensitive to the energy, is that we can really see the difference now between the 3D world and the 5D world. And that 3D world is crumbling very fast. And the 3D world is when it's based on everything that you see. The 5D world is all coming from the heart and what we need to do for the highest good of all concerned. The 3D world is the old corrupt, greedy, corporate, that type of world that we don't really want to live in anymore. It's got its purpose and it's got its place, but it can't be in charge anymore. We've got to come back to taking our power back. Okay, so anybody got any questions or anything else they'd like to ask about or contribute? No? Okay, so
sorry. I've seen recently there seems to be a quote that's bouncing around. I've seen it a few times, and it said, if you want a village, you've got to be a villager. And it was a really nice reminder that what you talk about, you need to put yourself out there as well and create those spaces, or say yes to things, go to the things, even if you're by yourself, go along to that meeting or the group thing or something, or take the jam over to the neighbors or say hello, because it's not going to come to you if you're just sitting inside doing nothing or not putting yourself out there. So if you want the village, you have to participate in it and be the villager as well, which I thought tied in.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, perfect. Absolutely. If you want to be a part of something, then step up, be a part of it. Don't sit back waiting for someone to drag you in or throw down the red carpet to welcome you in. Just do it and be a part of it, and don't be afraid to be you. Okay, so I'm going to run another class on this on Saturday, which will be the paid class for just $33 per person. And that will be on the North Node and you. So what I'll do is you'll register for this. For those of you who haven't done this with me before, you'll register for this and I will get your birth details, which I'll then be able to look at your natal chart and be able to tell you exactly where this energy is going to be affecting you over the next 18 months and what you can do with that energy. So we'll be able to look back at what you did with that energy back 2007 to 2009 and see whether you made good decisions or bad decisions, or what you did with the energy then, and how you can reuse it again at this time to step more into your power and to really step into being you. Every part of you that might be different or outside the box, it's really important that you embrace those parts of yourself, because that's what makes you unique. That's your soul signature that you brought to the earth plane, that it's time that it was activated now and that everybody got to benefit from what you have to share. So I will pop this up on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel. The video will go up on the YouTube channel. And if you want to join in, just look out for the thing on Facebook or send me a message and I'll send you the registration link that way. Okay, so thank you all very much for being here today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll see you all again.
Thank you, Deirdre. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
So much.
Bye. Bye, everybody. See ya.
Bye.